Now, media colleagues, friends and family are gathered this afternoon to remember veteran journalist Tshidi Madia, who passed away on Wednesday. A prayer service at her Germiston home will honour her life, work and contribution to the media community. Newzroom Afrika's Katleho Sekhotho is there and joins us live with more. Kat, there's been a huge outpouring of tributes through the week for the esteemed journalist. Take us through today's gathering.
Thank you, Hugo. Certainly a sad one as we gather here at the home of Tshidi Madia. And it's a warm gathering of media, family, friends, colleagues, people who were colleagues who've now become family. And to celebrate Tshidi Madia, who was a seasoned journalist, who we know was committed to telling the truth, to holding power accountable, and to also nurturing and honing the skill of young journalists. Throughout the week, we've heard from not just her colleagues, but prominent figures as well who've shared statements of messages of condolences, highlighting the strength she had and the charisma she had as a journalist who was committed to really playing her role, and in a patriotic way many have described, as she would often say in her reporting, often one could see in her reporting, as she held power to account, it was about seeing South Africa become a better place. But I do have with me a journalist and editor in his own right, Sbu Ngalwa, to give us more. Sbu, thank you for your time. A sad day for the media sector, a sad time for us as colleagues of Tshidi Madia. As we reflect today and we pray for her, what do you hope we understand about who she was?
I think that the important thing about Tsidi's work is that Tshidi was always meticulous in her work, but more than that, Tshidi cared deeply. She cared about people and she cared about her work. And I know that journalism now is under pressure, the business model is broken, there's talk of technology and artificial intelligence, but what I tell people is that if you look at the model of Tshidi, and you listen to everyone who's spoken about Tshidi, is that Tsidi's trademark or hallmark of her was also the relationships she built. And AI can never build that. So there is nothing that takes cultivating sources, seeking the truth at all times. And I think that if there's anything we can take from Tshidi and also from any young journalist or any up-and-coming journalist, is actually to understand that your work as a journalist is not just for yourself. It's not just to get a byline or to be on TV, but it's a service to your community, to your country, and by extension, I can say, to future generations. So once we understand the importance of journalism in society, I hope that with today's example and also with Tsidi's example, through her passing and in her memory, we'll always remember that without journalism, democracy and society dies.
Now, Sbu, she was often described as patriotic, even as one looked at her work, which challenged powerful figures. Do you think, what do you make of that word of patriotism being aligned with her name?
So patriotism is actually a word that is misconstrued most of the time, or actually deliberately distorted by those who want to attack journalists, where journalists are constantly being accused of not being patriotic. Because those who accuse them, particularly political figures, they regard patriotism as being loyal to whatever ideas or ideologies. There is no one more patriotic than a journalist who tells the story of their community and their country, who uncovers corruption, whatever it is, who holds the powerful to account. So Tsidi's patriotism was expressed through that. It was not just about her going to the US and correcting a wrong distortion about South Africa. That was important because it showed that at first, before anything else, before she's a journalist, she's a South African and a proud South African. And I think that's how anybody should understand patriotism, because your service to your country is to tell its story, what's and all. And those who are denigrating the image of the country, those who are corrupt, or those who are mismanaging our institutions, they ought to actually understand that the best form of patriotism that any journalist can do is to hold them to account so that we have a better society and a better country that we can leave to generations to come.
Now, Sbu, another thing we saw this week was messages of condolences come from the Office of the President, the Deputy President, even institutions like the Public Protector's Office. What do you make of those levels of officers acknowledging who Tshidi was?
And I think it was actually testament to who Tshidi was. Before she was a journalist, she was a human being. And Tshidi had a big heart, and she had time for people. I said earlier in the week, she actually even had time for political misfits, right? And that is true, because I think there is something that compels us, the most of us, to be journalists, which is that pursuit of justice. And Tshidi was always seeking the truth. And Tshidi was always genuine in her relationships. And I think those messages of condolences underline what she was, because you can say anything, even those who disagreed with her. They knew that Tshidi was an objective and an honest journalist who told the story as it should. I was listening, in fact I was not listening, I saw a comment by Pumzile van Dam on X, where she said that there was a time in her life as a member of the DA previously, where she was convinced that actually Tshidi hated the DA. But then she came to realize that actually it was not the case. She was just a journalist, a good journalist, doing her job. And journalism is not about being nice to people or being liked to people. Yes, it's nice to have people like you, but rather have people respect you for the work that you do. And that is exactly why you had those messages of support. It's not like Tshidi treated those people with kids' gloves. Never. But they came to appreciate and respect her for her forthrightness, but also standing firm and also ensuring that she continues to uphold the standards of journalism.
Thank you very much, Sbu. We'll leave it there for now. Thank you. So, Hugo, you've heard it there from Sbu, just reflecting on Tshidi as a journalist who was always seeking the truth, always holding power to account. And as you can see, many media colleagues and friends and people who really admired and respected Tshidi coming here to her home as part of the prayer service that should be getting underway in the next hour or so. And it is a deeply heartbreaking one, as she was 42 years old, and many really growing up, under Tshidi and being taught by her and sharing great conversations with her. And today is one of those sessions in which they reflect on her life and her legacy, not just as a seasoned journalist, but as a warm friend and colleague.